Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So, well, it's been a little bit of a while, hasn't it, since I have been back with you, and yes, you can probably see a little bit of a change. Last week I had my hair cut and lightened significantly, and the reason for that was because I am going incredibly grey. And yeah, although I love my hair a much darker blonde than it currently is, my roots show through so quickly now within a couple of weeks, and I'm having to use one of those sprays that you can get in the UK. Those of you that live in the UK will know there's these like hairspray things that you can put on your roots to sort of blend your roots in. And I don't even know why I'm telling you this, but you're probably not interested. But anyway, basically I was sick of doing it, so I have decided that I'm just going to embrace the grey, and I'm going to naturally age beautifully, I guess. And yeah, that's the plan. So because my hair was quite dark, it meant that I needed to go much lighter blonde first, and I fancied having a bit of a chop as well. And yeah, my hairdresser cut this for me last Wednesday, and I'll be honest, it's taking a little bit of getting used to. I do have sort of grey roots, and I'm planning to sort of let it go a little bit lighter and a little bit greyer as time goes on, but I'm hoping that my roots will blend in a little bit better. I'll be honest, it feels a little bit short for me. I wanted it sort of mid-neck length, and it's quite short at the minute, but I'll get used to it. Anyway, so that's the hair. So yes, it still is me, and yeah, to explain my absence for the last week, normally I get a video out every Sunday, and I didn't this last weekend. As you know from my last vlog, I was very under the weather last week. I am still not 100%. I've still got a little bit of a blocked nose and a little bit of a cough, but I'm getting there. I'm definitely on the mend. And yeah, it's been really hectic. I had a fantastic weekend in London going to see a band that me and my husband loved when we first met, and they were touring. They don't tour very often, but they were touring, but only doing a couple of dates in London this time, and so we managed to get tickets for that. So we had a night away in London on Saturday, which was amazing, because we don't get to go away very often, so that was really lovely. But the icing on the cake was meeting up with the fabulous Jay, who is the Camden Stitch. I will leave a link to her along at the bottom of the screen here, and also down in the description box, so you can go check her channel out. But she's just the most gorgeous lady, and we went to Sew Over It together, and we went to Race Stitch, and we went for a coffee and cake, and basically put the world to rights and got to know each other. And she's such a lovely lady. So Jay, if you are watching, thank you so much for meeting up with me and taking me under your wing for the morning on Sunday. It's a shame we didn't have more time to spend together. That would have been really awesome, but we just didn't have the time. Unfortunately, I needed to get back up north to Yorkshire in the afternoon, but I will insert a couple of pictures that we took together. Yeah, Sew Over It. I've never been to the Sew Over It shop before, and it was definitely a plan to go and have a look, and it's a lovely shop, I'll be honest. It's really nice. It was bright and airy, and they've got some lovely fabrics in there. They had workshops going on. It was quite busy actually when we went in there. I will say though, I thought it would be bigger. I don't know why, but having watched Lisa's vlogs for quite some time and seeing her move into the new shop and all the filming that goes on in there, I don't know why, I just thought it would be bigger than what it is. That's just my obviously my perception was clearly not right, but it is a really pretty shop. And I've never been to Ray Stitch before, but Jay took me there, and yeah, I did get some fabric. I know that I was saying I wasn't going to get any fabric in May, but you know, it was a special occasion. What else can I say? So I'm not going to show you those fabrics today though. I'll leave that for a second vlog. And yeah, I wanted to try and get a vlog up before this evening, and the reason for that is I am going on the Kittenish Behaviour Sewing Retreat, which is from tomorrow until Sunday, and I am so looking forward to it. I'm so excited, and I haven't even packed a single thing yet. I'm hoping that I've got everything that I need. We're going to be making a Celine bag by Swoon Patterns, and yeah, I'm just got my fingers crossed that I've got everything. If I haven't, I don't care, because I'm going to go and have a fabulous time anyway with other lovely sewing ladies. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, it means that obviously I'm going to be AWOL for the rest of the week. Not sure if I'm going to get any filming done. I will try, because I'm sure some of you would love to see what we get up to. So, but yeah, hopefully I might get a little bit of filming done while I'm down there. But yeah, I'm not going to get the opportunity to get another vlog up for you all before the end of the week. And on top of all that, it is 2 weeks until I need to get my essay in for my masters, and I have been frantically trying to get some of that done. What is going on with my hair? Over the last couple of days on top of work, and it's just been, yeah, there's no wonder I've had this most amazing headache for the last few days. But I'm on track with that at the minute, but obviously that's taken up some of my time as well, so I've had no time for any sewing in the last week at all, none whatsoever. So what I thought I would do for you today, so that you didn't think that I'd just disappeared off the face of the earth, was do the So Many Questions tag. Now this is a tag that was started by, I'm just going to have to consult my phone here. It was started by Laura from A Specky Seamstress and Jay from A Camden Stitch, and Jay tagged me to do this challenge, and basically it's a list of 40 questions. I will leave them down in the description box below, and you can choose 10 out of those 40 questions to answer. And I thought that you guys might be interested, to hear about what I've been up to the last couple of weeks, which I've already told you, and also just to find out a little bit more about me and a little bit more about my sewing, especially for some of the new subscribers that I have done a Q&A once a few months ago now, and I haven't done one since, so I thought this might be a good opportunity to do that. So thank you, Jay, for tagging me. And yeah, I have chosen 10 questions from the 40, and I've tried to keep it primarily based around sewing and my sewing history, that kind of thing, because I thought that's probably what you guys would be more interested in to hear about. So without further ado, I'll get straight into it because I've waffled on enough so far. So question 1 is, oh, let me just turn my phone down so it doesn't annoy you all. Question 1 is, how and when did you start sewing? So, did previously answer this in my first Q&A video, but here we go. So I would say I probably dabbled a little bit as a young girl when I obviously lived at home with my mum and dad. My mum was never a big sewer, she was more of a knitter. So I didn't do much at all. I do remember her having a vintage machine at some point when I was growing up, but all I can remember was how troublesome it was, and yeah, my mum wasn't very good at it either, so she couldn't really teach me. I did do sewing at school when I was at secondary school, so I was probably about 11, 12 at the time. And I didn't take it to GCSE, which is what we do in the UK. It's our sort of leaving exams. Purely because I hated the teacher. She was very, very domineering, and yeah, I think I didn't take it very seriously, I'll be perfectly honest. I was much more academic at school and didn't really see any value in sewing. I know that probably is total anathema to me now, and to all you guys out there that are crafty like me, I assume. But yeah, when I was at school I was very academically focused, and it wasn't something that I was particularly interested in or particularly good at. And when I was having those sewing lessons, I found it very difficult. I couldn't use the sewing machine, it was always breaking down, and the tension was never right and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't something that I took to easily, shall we say. And then fast forward into my 20s when I got married and had my children, and yeah, children as they're growing up, when they're at school, you get these letters, or we certainly do in the UK, they come home with these letters that they need to dress up as a pirate for whatever event is happening in 2 days' time, that kind of thing. And it was always a bit of a nightmare because, you know, I've always worked and school never give you enough notice for these kinds of things. So I bought myself a very cheap sewing machine. It was very cheap. It was about £50, I think, something like that. And it was a brother. And used it primarily just to make little fancy dress outfits and things like that for my children for school events. And yeah, that's the only type of sewing I did. I tried the odd little crafty thing, such as making little pin cushions and little sort of hearts, you know, those little hearts that are sort of like the shabby chic type thing that I would make out of scraps of fabric that never looked like anything that they did on Pinterest. It would never came out that way. And yeah, it was only when one of my a neighbour who moved in a few doors down from me about 5 years ago now, who was very into sewing and knitting, and yeah, it was World Book Day and my son wanted to go as Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, and I didn't know where to start, and my friend Jane, who moved a few doors away, came round and helped me to make this outfit, and it was incredible. He looked amazing. If I can find a photo, I will stick it here of what I think he was about 10 at the time, my 10-year-old son looked like in his Gandalf outfit. And I caught the bug, and that was when the sewing bee started, I think around about that time, and my friend Jen said, watch it, you'll love it, and I did, and I really enjoyed it, and it just grew from there. I think my daughter then was looking at ahead a year or two in front of wanting to go to her school leavers prom, and she was adamant she wanted a handmade dress. She didn't want one off the peg and she wanted me to make it. There was no way my skills were going to be up to scratch, so I decided to really sort of just develop my skills and learn to sew, with the aim to be able to make a dress that she would be proud to wear on her prom, which is basically what happened. So I didn't go to any sewing classes. I picked up tips from my friend. I looked at YouTube, got a couple of books, that kind of thing, and it just grew from there. And yeah, I made my daughter's prom dress. I'll stick that here as well so you can have a look. So proud of that. She loved it. And yeah, here we are 5 years later, and I'm still massively addicted to sewing. I think what I love about it is just the creativity that it gives you, the escape from your everyday life, being able to make clothes that fit me is great, that I know that nobody else is going to wear as well. So, you know, all the usual things that we all love. Yeah, so that was a long answer, wasn't it? But yeah, that's question one. This is going to be a long video. Okay, I'll try and speed up a bit. No, question number 2, planner or improviser? I am very much a planner. When it comes to sewing clothes, I don't tend to improvise much at all. I don't have a great imagination with clothes, in that I see a pattern and think, oh, I could put this on it, or change it to this, or use that colour scheme or whatever. I can't think like that. When it comes to interiors, and whenever I've decorated bedrooms, that kind of thing, I can visualise how I want something to look and choose the right colour schemes and accessories and all that kind of thing to make it look how I want it to look, but for some reason that doesn't translate into sewing. And so I'm very much a planner, in that yeah, I will start off with a pattern usually, and think, yes, I want to make that particular outfit, and I'll choose fabric and then I'll stick to it, and yeah, that's it. I don't tend to, I'm certainly not one of these refashioners that can go and pick up something from a charity shop, for instance, and totally redesign it into something amazing. I just don't have that skill. It may be something that comes in time, but yeah. So yeah, that tends to be me. Question 3, what sewing machine do you use? Well, I told you obviously for question 1 I had a little brother machine, which was a bit rubbish, to be honest, and I quickly got rid of that as I got into my sewing career, shall we say. And after that one I bought a Janome, which served me quite well for a couple of years. And then, I have explained this before, but at the beginning of last year, my dad was getting married to his now wife, and yes, he wanted me to make their wedding outfits basically, and so he offered to buy me a new machine because the Janome that I had, I just didn't think would be up to the job. So yes, he gave me the money to buy a new machine, which was incredibly generous, and I'm very, very grateful. So yes, I have a Pfaff Creative 4.5, which is a sewing and embroidery machine. It has a separate embroidery unit. I haven't actually done any embroidery. Oh, Pluto's come to say hello. He doesn't do this very often. You're going to say hello, Pluto? He doesn't do this very often because he's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde creature, and yeah, he either comes for cuddles or not. But yes, this is Pluto for those of you that don't know. He's my little cat. Okay, looks like that's it. That's as far as we go. Okay, where were we? Yes, my sewing machine. So it is a Pfaff combined sewing and embroidery machine, and yes, I do have the embroidery unit. I haven't actually ventured into any embroidery as yet, because it scares me, I'll be honest. I'd love to do it, but I think I just need a block of time where I can just sit, do some reading, practice, that kind of thing, and I just haven't had that block of time to do it. So but yes, as a sewing machine, I love it. It is amazing. It has a integrated walking foot already, so you don't need a separate walking foot. I will put, I'll put a little video together to have it show you a quick view of it, and I'll insert that so you, now, so you can have a little look and then come back. So this is my sewing machine. So this is the Pfaff Creative 4.5. It's fully computerized, and obviously everything is done on touch screen here. You get a little stylus with it, which is just here. You've got different modes for embroidery and sewing. I do not know how to use all the screens as yet, but yeah, everything is done on the touch screen. It's when you lift this up here, it does give you a bit of an indication of what stitches you've got, but there are absolutely thousands on this machine. It's just amazing. You put your top bobbin in here, and yeah, it's got a little that's for your, if you're doing a twin needle, so you've got your two threads, if that makes sense. What else? I mentioned the IDT, which I don't know if you can see it, but it's just this bit here at the back. So this is the walking foot, and basically you just disengage it or engage it to be able to sew, you know, your tricky fabrics. Inside here we have some feet that came with the machine plus the bobbins. Now the Pfaff machines take their own specific bobbins. They've got like this little extra lip inside there, and that's so that it detects when your bobbin's low and gives you a little warning that comes up on screen, so that you can you know, rethread it, etc, etc, and you don't run out and sewing along thinking that you've run out of thread. What else can I tell you? It's got thread snips, so you press this button here when you're finished sewing and it will automatically cut the threads. It does have an automatic needle threader, which is there as well. Yeah, it's a very, very nice machine. I love it, and it gives me really professional results. It's got a automatic buttonholer with it as well, so the buttonhole foot I usually keep up here. This is it here actually. So if I just show you, so this is the buttonhole foot, and essentially it's got this little cable on it here which feeds into a sensor in the machine, so it automatically detects its own tension and settings and all that kind of thing. So it's quite intuitive, and I would say that was one of the biggest things for what made me buy this machine. I know it probably sounds very extravagant to buy a machine just for the buttonhole, but the buttonhole on my Janome was absolutely rubbish. I hated it. I used to come out in a cold sweat every time I would try to create buttonholes because it would always go wrong, whereas this, touch wood, has always been amazing. So that's my machine. So yeah, so that's my sewing machine, and yes, I absolutely love it, and I am really scared because I am going to have to pack this up and take it down to the Isle of Wight with me tomorrow for the sewing retreat, and I'm just hoping that it survives the trip on the ferry. And yeah, it's quite scary, but it's very precious to me. It was very expensive, and I've never transported it anywhere before, and it's quite heavy as well, so yeah, I'm hoping that that's going to be okay. That's quite scary. Okay, so moving on, question number 4, how big is your stash? I really debated whether I was going to answer this question and show you, but I'm going to be really brave. Please don't hate me. I have an enormous stash, and some of you know just how badly addicted I am to buying fabrics. And my husband came in here last week. I'm in my sewing room at the minute, and basically, yeah, his jaw hit the floor because he doesn't come in here very often. I sort of keep him out as much as I can. You know, I earn my own money, and you know, he does as well, and we have a fairly nice income and a nice life. And apart from running, which is my other major hobby, and working, I don't do a lot else with my money. Obviously I've got my kids, but they're grown up now, and you know, and so I think, you know, that's what I want to spend it on. So yeah, I have a lot of fabric and it's overwhelming. I am going to just show you all my fabric now and you can have a look, but yeah, I do need to sort it all out. In fact, me and Jay were having this conversation at the weekend, and what I need to do, because I'm now at the point where I think I'm duplicating, so I'm buying fabric and then thinking I'm sure I've got some of this somewhere, and I can picture fabrics that I know I have and I can't find it because it's just all in this huge pile. It all looks fairly neat, I would say, but it is it's in no order at all, and I need to work my way through it. Again, I need a day to do that, I think, because there's that much. It is fortunately all in one place because I am very lucky that I have a spare room which has become my sewing room and is just doubles up as a spare bedroom when my daughter comes to stay. So I can shut it away, but yeah, I am rapidly running out of space, and I need to probably do a bit of a de-stash. I think there are some fabrics that I have from when I first started sewing. You know, when you start and you're buying fabrics all the time and think, oh yeah, that's nice and that's nice and that's nice, and then you quickly realise that actually you don't really want to wear those kinds of things as your skills develop and you start to identify your own sense of sewing style, shall we say. So there probably is quite a number of fabrics that I probably will want to de-stash, and I do tend to buy a lot of fabrics online because I don't have a great supply of fabric shops near me, or time away from work to be able to go and shop in them. So I do tend to buy a lot online, and you know what it's like when you're shopping online, it can sometimes be a bit hit and miss, and I have had the odd duds that have turned up which I've felt were nothing like what I thought they were going to be, which I probably will never use. So yeah, my husband did actually say to me, you will not outlive your current fabric stash, and at one point I thought, no, that's totally wrong. I will get through all this before I leave this mortal coil, but I think he's probably got a bit of a point. So anyway, I'll insert some footage so you can have a look at my fabric stash and duly shame me. So fabric stash, yeah, okay, we talked about my fabric stash, so this essentially is it here. Now to start with, I have some fabrics in those boxes at the bottom. This is some gorgeous shark fabric that I got to make my husband some shorts. So yeah, there's a load of stuff in there, which is, some of it's scraps, to be honest, that I probably need to go through. And then, let me just move that out of the way, I have this IKEA Kallax unit, which is a 9-hole unit, and it's a bit messy, as you can see, but that is full of fabric. It was originally all in some sort of structure, so there was jerseys and viscoses, drapey fabrics, that kind of thing, the heavier cottons and denims and linens and stuff, but it's all just a bit of a mess at the minute. Everything is all just shoved wherever it can be. Although you might look at this and think, oh well, there's, you know, only a few fabrics there. These are probably two there's another row behind this row, if that makes sense, and that goes for all of these gaps. It's just incredible. And then if we sort of pan up a little bit, you will see that on top of the Kallax unit, all the way up to the ceiling, is more fabric, and this is all my jerseys, or they are all jerseys. There are probably jerseys elsewhere as well. So there's a mixture of pontes and t-shirt jerseys, scubas, viscose jerseys. There's all sorts up there, to be honest. And yeah, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. But that's not all. If I just pan round the room slightly, now this is a built-in wardrobe. And at the top of here originally was all my son's toys, and then the other week I sorted it out and got rid of a load because he doesn't use them anymore because he's growing up. And I've put more fabric in here. So again, we've got more jerseys in here. Those on the right hand side just there are I've tended to try and stick to sort of Ponte Romas, the plains. So most of that is Pontes, but there are obviously a few other bits and pieces in there as well. And then on the left hand side is some winter fabrics. So there's a lot of sort of coatings just here as well, and then it's just gone more jerseys up the top. So yeah, so there's more fabric in there. I also have a few pieces downstairs in the downstairs utility room that need to be washed, that I've purchased, that I didn't really want to tell you about, but yeah, it's just it needs sorting out. It massively needs sorting out, and it's quite embarrassing really, and it feels quite oppressive now and overwhelming. So when I come into my sewing room, I don't have that sense of calm. So it definitely needs sorting. In addition to all that, there is also a little bit more fabric just at the bottom of the bed here. Just ignore Winnie the Pooh in the corner. That's my daughter's that she dragged out when she was up a few weeks ago. So there's a few more fabrics here. There are some heavy crepes there. There's some jacquard under there. That bag is some soft shell that I got from Sewisfaction. Up on this little shelf here is some ribbing and some cuffs that I've bought. Up there on the top shelf is one shelf that I have sorted out. And those fabrics just on the left hand side of the picture that you can see now are sea salt fabrics. And then on the right hand side there are they are sort of quilting cottons and fat quarters up there as well. So yeah, there's a lot of fabric. Okay, that's my stash. So number 5, what is my most used pattern? Now I had to have a little think about this, and there are probably 2 that I would say I've used more than any others. Now I don't tend to replicate the same thing over and over and over, because I think once I've made something I then move on to the next thing and want to do something else, and the seasons probably change, that kind of thing. But when I think through the patterns that I have that I know that I've repeated and made more of, I would tend to say there are 2 that I can think of that spring to mind. One of them is the True Bias Ogden Cami, and the other one is the Jennifer Lauren gable top. And both of those I've made 3 or 4 times now, and I've got the fit right and the, I would say, basics, staples. So it's not the, you know, really posh party dresses that you wear once in a blue moon, it's the staples really. And when I started sewing, I don't think I ever thought that I would make the staple things. I thought they were things that I would probably just continue to buy, because I think one of the things why I wanted to sew in the beginning was because I wanted to make the nice 50s dresses that you can't buy anymore, that, or if you can, they're very expensive. And I sort of quickly realised that actually that doesn't really fit in with my day-to-day life. So I do tend to make a lot of basics, and those 2 patterns I would say I have made more than anything else. Yeah, so that's that question. Number 6, what is the one piece of advice you would give yourself if you could go back to when you started sewing? So I had to really think about this one too, because there's probably a few pieces of advice I would give myself. I think the first one would be, novelty cottons are great, but we all don't want to go around looking like, you know, wearing Harry Potter. I work as a nurse practitioner in a GP surgery. I've got a professional job. So, you know, as much as I love novelty fabrics, I can't wear them in my day-to-day life. And so, you know, there's no point buying tons of them when I can't wear them. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is, don't skip corners and read instructions carefully. There's been so many mistakes I've made because I've not read what the seam allowance is, so I've just used a 5/8 seam allowance on everything, and I've not appreciated some of the really detailed techniques that pattern instructions tell you to do. For instance, understitching. Understitching is so important, and when I first read that in a pattern instruction I didn't even know what it meant, and then I was wondering why when I made the Anna dress by Hand London, why the neckline was constantly flipping out, because it's a faced neckline and I hadn't understitched it. Basting zips before you insert them fully. I have learnt that that is an absolutely essential, for me anyway, an essential part in the process of inserting a zip, especially in a, you know, where you've got a waistline as well, so that it matches up. No matter how well you pin it, when you stick it under that foot on your sewing machine, it will move. So I always base zips as well. So I would say read the instructions carefully so that you don't miss out any steps. There are some areas where you will learn to I wouldn't say cut corners, but you will just learn different techniques that work better for you, because some instructions will tell you a different way to do something, like a fly zip. For insertion, for example, there are so many different methods of doing a fly insertion, and there's none that's sort of more right than the other. It just comes down to different designers, what they've used, what technique they've used, and essentially when you've tried a few, which one works best for you. But there are certain things like understitching is one thing, snipping into curved necklines as well. That's really important. I didn't even do that when I started sewing, because you just want to get to the finished product, don't you, as quick as possible. So I would say don't miss out those really essential steps that are going to produce a really professional looking garment. And one other thing I would also say, and this may be controversial, but this is just my opinion, okay, is as much as possible hand stitch hems or use a blind hem foot when you are hemming dresses and skirts and trousers. I particularly think this is important on things like jersey dresses, such as your heavy things like pontes and scubas. I've seen so many examples of where beginner sewers have used a machine to machine hem a scuba skirt or a ponte dress or whatever, and I just think it really gives it away that it's homemade rather than handmade, and it just doesn't look a very nice finish. And as much as hand stitching and hand hemming can take forever, but as I say, there are blind hem foots you can get for your machine, and I just think it gives a much more professional finish, and it is all about the finishing that makes your clothes look great or not so great. So for me, I would say those sort of little details, I guess. Don't get me wrong, I am not an expert, and some of the things that I've made don't always come out the way I plan, as you know. But yeah, don't miss out those critical little things that are just going to make whatever it is you're making look that much better. Okay, question 7, favourite place to buy fabric. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I don't have a lot of options of fabric stores close by to me, but I would say my bricks and mortar shops would be my favourite place rather than online. There are a lot of online sellers now who, a lot of them sell just the same fabrics, to be honest, and you know, you can get the same fabric in various different shops, and I do find we're inundated with so many fabric stores online now, that it's sometimes difficult to find something that's just that little bit different. And that's why I like going to my bricks and mortar shops, because I can always find something that's different in those shops. So I do love Fabworks at Dewsbury. They have just amazing wools and suiting fabrics, and yeah, their choice of those kinds of things is just incredible, and at a really reasonable price as well. I love Walton's as well. I've mentioned that before. They don't have an online presence, unfortunately, but they have all sorts, and their stock changes, and it's not stuff that I tend to see in the online stores as well. I love my Lady McElroy fabrics, as you know, and I tend to use Sherwood's to get those, which is just online, and wait till they have one of their mega discounts, which they have fairly frequently. So but I do buy from some of the newer indie shops as well that are springing up. Sometimes, you know, when they've got discount codes especially. I will say I absolutely love Sister Mintaka. She's only been going a year, but she has the most beautiful fabrics. They aren't cheap, but if you wanted something that's that little bit more special, they are just stunning fabrics. So there's a few really. I wouldn't say there is one particular favourite that I've got. It depends what mood I'm in as to what fabric I want, basically. Okay, question 8. How has your style changed since you started sewing? Now, this is really interesting because when I wasn't sewing and I was just buying ready to wear all the time, I always tended to go for very plain clothes. So I wouldn't go for anything floral, nothing patterned, not maybe a little bit stripy. I'd have the odd stripe, but I went for everything was very plain. So it would just be you know, block colours that I would go for, and that was my style. And sewing has opened up a whole world of prints to me that was something that I would never embrace in ready to wear, and I don't really know why that is. I think I've never been the type of person, and this will probably sound ridiculous because I've got a YouTube channel, but I've never been the type of person that's wanted to stand out. And so I really admire these women that look amazing and incredible, and you know, they dress, I wouldn't say flamboyant, but you know, they know how to dress, but it's somebody that turns your eye. I've always shied away from that because I don't like grabbing people's attention when I'm out and about, and it makes me feel very self-conscious and yeah, intimidated, and I've just not had that level of confidence really. And so even when I was in ready to wear, although I wore plain colours all the time, they wouldn't be bright colours. I would never wear something bright. It would be muted tones, maybe some pastels, navies, blacks, that kind of thing, grey as well, but never anything bright. And sewing has made me gravitate more towards lots of florals, stripes. I love print. I still love the plains as well. I like mixing and matching, but yeah, I will go for prints now. I will embrace bright fabrics and bright colours and wear them confidently most of the time. There are some things that I make that then when I'm actually out there in the big wide world wearing them that I think, oh, I feel a little bit self-conscious in this, but it has helped me build my self-confidence in that strange way, I guess. So I mean, even when you look at what I'm wearing today, I mean, this is not a me made thing. It's a ready to wear tunic that I've got on, and yeah, 5 years ago I would not have chosen something like this to wear, but obviously now it's sort of brought me out of my shell a little bit, so that's always a positive, isn't it? Question 9, your favourite pattern company. So I would have to say, it doesn't actually say whether it's you have to choose a commercial company or whether you choose an indie. I presume it's either, it doesn't really matter, but I thought I'd probably, I don't know, I would probably say McCall's is my favourite. Vogue patterns I absolutely love, but for some reason I just don't have a lot of success with a lot of the patterns that I've made from Vogue, but I love their designs. I think they're really, you know, they're just really nice designs, and I just need to probably experiment a little bit more with fitting them to me. But McCall's, I really do like McCall's patterns. Most of the patterns that I've made from McCall's tend to fit me, and I know the changes to make to fit me. I know what size I need to make, that kind of thing. So and they're always good value for money. Yes, I've had some duds, but you know, that's how we all learn. From an indie perspective, I would say, I mean, the most patterns that I've made from an indie designer, I would say, would be probably Sew Over It. I've made a lot of their patterns, and they do, I know some people have said they have a lot of fit issues with Sew Over It, but they do tend to fit me quite well. So yeah, I would probably say from an indie perspective it would be Sew Over It. However, I think a few of their latest releases I've not been enthralled by. It's not been something that's personally been that's attracted me, but yeah, I would probably say, if I'm going to go for an absolute favourite, and if it was the only thing that I could buy moving forward, I would probably go for McCall's. So yeah, that's that. And final question, which is not a sewing question, is gym bunny or couch potato? So I would say I am neither, and the reason for that is because as I mentioned before, and for those of you that have been with me a while, you will know that I love running, and I run probably 3 to 4 times a week, and it helps me to keep my weight in check. I find the weeks where I can't run very often, I tend to eat more rubbish, whereas when I'm running I tend to watch what I eat better and look after myself better. But I cannot stand the gym at all, in any way, shape or form. I don't like exercise classes, I don't like going to a gym, I don't like running on a treadmill. I like being outside, so I like going off into the mountains, hiking, running on the trails, getting that fresh air, because it's not just about the exercise for me from a physical perspective, it also helps my mental well-being as well. So yeah, so for me, I can be a bit of a couch potato. I have my moments, I will say. You know, we all have those, but yeah, I'm not a gym lover at all, but I do love nature and being outside in the environment. So that's my 10 questions. So at this point I think I'm supposed to tag other people to do this, and yeah, I know that there's been quite a few people tagged already, but for those of you that have a channel, if you haven't done this already, then please feel free to go ahead and film your own So Many Questions tag, and yeah, I will leave a link to all the questions down below so that you can go and choose them. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me waffling on for probably a good half hour, I would think. You might have switched off hours ago, but whatever. So yeah, I'm now gonna get this uploaded, and then I'm gonna start packing for the retreat. And yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning of the vlog, I'm hoping that I might be able to get a little bit of filming done, so if I do, look out for that video next week. And yeah, hopefully it will probably be middle of next week before I get a chance to upload again. But wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you are well, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll be back with you really soon. Take care, bye.